For many disabled children like Snowy Harding, there seemed to be an inevitability that, for better or worse, they would go into segregated institutions.
After the war, when I left school, the boys used to come round, we used to go to the pictures. But one night, they did all right. And I was sitting at the front door waiting for them, and they come round the corner, and they all had girls, and I thought, oh no, this is the beginning that I really felt I was disabled. And after much crying from my mum, really, I went to live at recount, because if I got any worse, the only place that was left for me was a ward in a local hospital. So I thought, if I didn't take this chance, I mean, my parents couldn't look after me no more. My dad still carried me upstairs to bed. And my sister Rosie, she needed looking after, so I took the plunge and I went into residential home. And my sister lived at home for another 30 years.
Many disabled children stayed in these hospitals for years, like Anne McFarlane, who spent the 40s and 50s in hospitals and recalls the grim loneliness.
I spent considerable time in hospital without a break, and of course in those days there were no visitors, they weren't allowed in. I used to make up these counting games, counting stitches in the sheets. I used to try and guess how many there would be before I started, and then guess for a whole week and see how near I came.
Disabled children like Anne were seen as incurable, living nearer death than life.
I was always searching for my mother. I was convinced that she would come. I remember on one occasion when I was 6, the sister said, oh, your mummy and daddy coming to see you today. But you're going to die, and what I want you to do is to be very brave, and you mustn't tell them that you're going to die because they'll be very upset. They arrived at 2 o'clock and sat by the bed, and I remember my mother had bought me a packet of crayons. Then I thought I ought to really tell her that I'm not going to be able to use them and to take them away again. There was a very severe attack of gastroenteritis amongst babies, and many of these babies died. Sister came along and picked up this dead baby, wrapped in a sheet, put it on my chest, and said, this baby's gone to heaven, this is where you're going soon. If you ate your food and you vomited, and many of the children had TB and other medical conditions, they had to eat their vomit, and it didn't matter how many times they were sick, they had to eat that vomit. I was on receiving end of one of these punishments. I got put into this little room, there was a side room, and the door opened and another bed was pushed in, and it was Jeannie, and we set up this game of I Spy. Not that there was much to I Spy, but she had epilepsy, and she had a massive seizure and vomited and died. I screamed and screamed for help. I kept screaming. I never saw her anymore, and nobody talked about Jeannie. It's just as though she never existed. It's just terrible.
When I was in a convent, I was very friendly with this girl. Her name was Barbara. I remember her very well, and she could walk around, although she had a very bad heart. We all knew it was just a matter of time, you know, for her to die. And I saw her a few days before she died. And as you can imagine, I mean, I really was very fond of her, so I was very hurt and upset, that she had died, and I felt very alone, and I thought, I don't know how I'm going to cope without her. And then 3 days after that, this nun came along, and she looked at me, and she held up these pairs of underwear, and I recognized them straight away, that they were Barbara's. And she said, there's nothing wrong with them. They're being washed, they're clean. And I said, it's not that, you know. This belongs to a human being. And I was very fond of her, but I don't want to wear her underwear.
You can still feel this enormous sense of loneliness and the waste of all these lives just lives with you at times, and you just feel so angry. I feel really angry that that part of my life was so wasted.
Eileen Chipper left institutional care during the 1950s. She recalls being treated as a nobody, except by her mother.
I went home in the hospital, and I was so scared of the outside world that I wouldn't go out. My mum wanted me to go out with her. I was so scared. I wouldn't go out for about 3 years. When I did go, people kept looking at me and staring at me, and they used to treat us as though we were simple. We were nothing. They had to put me onto the bed by the living room window, so I could look out the window and watch children go by. Insane. I used to think if only that was me. But as I got older, I realised it would never happen to me. My mum looked after me for about 5 years, and she had to go to the hospital because she had cancer. Two of my cousins came to visit me on this Sunday, and they said they wanted to take me into my bedroom. I said, you can't pull me. I said, my mum didn't she? And they told me that she had gone. I went to see the flowers. They wouldn't let me go to the funeral. My ugly flesh of blood, the only mother I never had.